Hey, this is Kaja Elliott, Bronx born and raised, ATL made, Bay Area becoming, and this is the As Told By podcast. Episode 5 of the As Told By podcast. We are almost done with season 1. Or excuse me, season 2.
I was about to say.
Season 2. We're almost done. I know y'all hear my guest speaking over there, who is usually in the background, engineering the sessions, but, you know, today I wanted to bring them to the foreground. They're one of my favorite artists right now, and I wanted to make them my artist spotlight for season 2. So I will let you, not that you need introduction, but I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
To the As Told By community, I am Monty Draper, artist, producer, rapper, utility guy.
All the things.
All the things.
All the things.
I'm glad to be here, though. Hi, Kosh.
Hey, thanks for doing the interview.
Thank you. I was geeked when I got the text. It was like, word? Come
Were
on.
you really?
No, for real. No, seriously, I was. Because Kevin and I were just talking about on the way. It's like we do a lot. Mm-hmm. And it is hard. People either know you as this, they know you as that. And so the few people that know and appreciate for you for all the things that you do, and you're one of the people that like early were like, yo, I love the podcast, I love the music. Like you got to see everything, so I do appreciate it. It's nice, especially in our immediate community. Like I'm excited how the world is starting to view us, but in our immediate community, I think is where the most kind of confusion exists. So this is really, really dope.
Good. I'm glad. I didn't have to twist his arm now to get him to do the interview. So thanks for doing it.
Absolutely.
I know, the hometown boy here. So people know you. Y'all got a lot of exposure right now. So I'm like, what am I going to talk to Monty about that people don't already know? But I don't know what people know. And I also have listenership outside of the Bay Area.
There you go. I was going to say, you got a whole different, demo, New York and Atlanta, this, So, yeah.
Yes. Okay, well, y'all about to get to know Monty. Right. So take us to the origin story. I know you are originally from Richmond, which is about, 15 minutes outside of Oakland.
Yeah.
All right. So you're from Richmond.
Yes.
Richmond in the 80s.
Richmond. So it's hard because, and this is no knock to anyone. I do carry myself a little bit older, and my crew are older than me too. So I didn't really get to grow up in the 80s. I was born in 89, so I'm 90s baby, through and through. And I was born in San Leandro, right on the border, San Leandro, Oakland, which is important because, people are like, man, you from the town, huh? It's like, nah, not really, but a lot of my family are, and to be fair, my initial roots are here. But as far as roots for real, it's all Richmond. My mama, my daddy, they are Richmond through and through.
Okay.
So we moved back to Richmond when I was 2, I believe, 2 or 3. And then everything after that was all Richmond for me. And to be honest, is where all the music starts. My mom and dad were 23 and 21 when they had me, respectively. So I grew up with them. They didn't stop listening to the phenomenon that was hip hop when they had me. They actually doubled down on their music, if you will. So I can remember getting dropped off to Head Start, listening to Ghetto Boys. That was just the thing. And so if that's the last thing you hear getting out the car, that's the last thing you hear getting out the car is kind of setting the tone for how you see the world. So even some of my first writings was so imaginative, and that's kind of the jump. Everything has been through this lens of expression and entertainment from the rip. Both of my parents are creatives. My mom's a writer in her own right. And my dad pursued music when he was really, really young too. So it's kind of I'm not an anomaly in that regard. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Were you that kid or teenager that had stacks on stacks of notebooks where you're writing lyrics all the time?
Yes. That was my mom. My mom, she's definitely gonna listen to this, but we laugh all the time. It's I was the kid she was worried about for sure, because school just wasn't my thing. I had real trauma and triggers around learning, and my sisters just walked out hella smart, So with me, homework, spelling words specifically was a thing. And my poor mom, I love you to this day for being that patient, but once they figured out I could kind of express what I was feeling and going through and all the shit, like via writing, it became a thing, you know? So it's like notebooks on notebooks of just like either short stories, long form stories, essays, reports, and then you see the transition into like, oh, I think this is a rap. I remember my dad finding some of my first raps and being like, yeah, this is definitely him trying to figure out what rap is for real. So, that was probably as early as first or second grade for sure too. Yeah, just you know, you can start. They started putting the lyrics in the liner notes, so now it's just copying those word for word. I want to say probably volume 1. Hove maybe is like the first one's like just word. I needed to know what he was saying on where I'm from, because it's if you listen to where I'm from to this day, it's like, bro, how you figured out how to rhyme like that is so crazy to me. And so I remember that being one of the first things I needed to know what he was saying and why he was saying it like that, because that pocket was just so crazy. It had to have been. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's crazy.
Pretty young, right?
Yeah, volume. So that was 98. So fourth grade, I guess that was. Yeah.
Okay. No crayons, not stickers. Deconstructing Hove. That's how we ended up here.
No, for real. Yeah, 98. I want to say 97, 98 had to have been. Yeah.
Got it. So, Richmond raised. Struggling in school.
Yes.
Doing a lot of writing. That's a common thread I hear a lot, particularly with black men who struggled a lot in school, were regarded a certain way in school, and then you run into them as adults and they're doing brilliant work. Where's the disconnect?
Oh, and that's a really good question. I think, and I you know, my mom and I, we've had these conversations, so I think she wouldn't mind, but I do think just their youth, and not necessarily knowing how much patience you're supposed to have, right? So, like I said, my sisters are absolutely brilliant. Me, you know, come from the same family tree, so it's in there somewhere, but you know, not as focused, and probably learned a different way too, and not knowing how to categorize that, and then also the stigma that comes with, oh, your son may have this, or your daughter may have this, or may be on the spectrum for this, and you know, not wanting to face the truth and the facts of that, you know, and go and explore it. And not that I've been diagnosed with anything, but I do now that I've gotten older and read about a lot of things, like, sheesh, whoo, there's a few things that I might have helped in figuring out how to, at the very least, connect with me and have me retain the information the way it was supposed to, because I do think education is like absolutely important. And I love school too, but once you get responses and just asking general questions like, yo, this don't really make sense. Like, why I got to show my work if I know the answer for him? Like, this don't make any sense. Like, stuff like that. And
I just told you what it was.
I just told you what, you know, what you listening, you know, is like, never mind. And yeah, I do think there's a lot of just, especially that era, it was like, hey, this is what the curriculum is and this is where we're going, and it's kind of this one size fits all, and that's totally not the case. And we know so much more now about education, where we're not forcing 30 kids, 35 kids to be taught by one person that's going through their own shit. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be, you know, financial, underpaid, tired,
dealing with your own kids.
Yeah, God forbid you got your own kids in a relationship you're dealing with. Now you got to come deal with somebody else. Oh, this is crazy. So I do think it was a lot of that, and just needing a little extra attention, and also being this, you know, visual learner and just needing to see things. It's like, oh, that's all we doing? All right, cool. I bet I got you. But reading the chapter to write down what's already in the chapter just didn't make no sense to me. What are we doing this for?
You wrote it, why am I writing?
Right. So it was a lot of that, and I do think that's kind of where it starts. It's just like needing an alternative method of education, especially, and using art as a vehicle. Like the one thing I can say about the early 90s is that where the late 80s and the crack era may have seen instruments and the arts programs like fizzling out, they were still kind of there. And then you get to the 90s where they're completely eradicated now and harder to come by. And then by the time I do get to a place where they are accessible, I've already gone through the process of them not being accessible and us doing this thing that we do where it's like, oh, that's just stupid then. And it's like, well, is it, or did you just not have access to it? Now you don't understand it. And so I remember having a chance to play play the clarinet and
pick up the pieces.
Pick up with the kazoo, not with the kazoo hustle, man. That is too funny. Yeah, having a chance, but it's that image though. It's like, where's the kazoo, and is this a joke? You know, and it's like, no, I'm not doing this because it wasn't cool. But I did eventually get access to some awesome music instructors and programs. My middle school, my elementary and middle school offered, and it offered and had an exceptional band. And then the high school I went to too. So, but I just never connected those dots and kind of went more the sports route. So.
Got it. So yeah, you took me right to my next question. So fast forward, now it's college years, and you go to undergrad as an athlete, playing basketball.
Yes.
Okay. At what school?
Southern Oregon University.
Okay, so you left the state.
Whitest place in the world, I like to say.
Yeah. What was that? Like the raisin and the cream cheese experience, I call it. From Richmond to Oregon.
You know what? How naive I was because we from the Bay. So, you know, I've been to hoop summer camps in this place and have friends in this city. So you think you're diverse and my high school coach, who's a white man, was like, "Hey, fam, you're going to experience culture shock." And I'm like, you white. Like, I be with your fam. Like, it can't be that bad.
He's spicy white. It's the difference. Look, I borrowed that from another podcast. Spicy white.
That was unique where you talk about everything and everyone being white. It was just a lot. And I want to say up until like that whole first year, I was ready to go. Like we get through preseason and then conference is getting ready to start, and we're on a road trip in Eugene, I believe. And I remember leaving shoot around, calling my mom in tears, like, "Bro, I gotta get out of here. This is crazy. This don't make any sense. Get me out of here." And like, don't call no black mama and sounding like you and the rest, because
she ready to get in the car.
She was in the car, and my uncle maybe. So I'm sitting outside the restaurant, like, man, my mama come and get me. I ain't going with them. Like, just like in my mind, she's gonna come drive. Would have been the equivalent of like 9 hours to grab me. And my uncle called me. And he's like, "Hey, bro, call your mama and tell her to turn around." Like, "Nah, Uncle, I'm sick of this." He said, "Look here. It's hard, I know. But if you quit now, at this point, at this stage of your life, if you give up on this, you're going to go through hell. Just trust me." And this is my uncle, who's my hero. He's my world, and he's been in the Air Force. He's well traveled. He got all the girls. He got the fly whip. He got he's got what I know now are just these things that are just the optics, but he's still my dogs who I look up to. So him challenging me in that way was, I tell him whenever I see him, it's like, yo, that one conversation single-handedly shifted a whole bunch of things, because I did stay. I did make some like people who have exceeded past that threshold of friends and are like family members who have been there for me and who we've shared some of the fondest memories with. And then music, I found myself musically again there too. Like it took a while, but I can honestly say without that place, I don't know what I would be doing, you know? So it was, I make fun of it in on the front end, but I need to do a better job of like bigging up Ashland, the Valley as a whole, and all of those people there, because they really did take care of me at the end of the day, and took care of my family too. So
that's what's up.
Yeah, college was lit
found
as
your
fuck.
place.
College was tight.
And good on your uncle. That's to me, that's the bigger lesson of college years, just outside of the degree, is how not to quit ambiguous situations because they're ambiguous, how to
Right.
operate in socioeconomic spaces that are different than the ones you're accustomed to. Like, to me, that's the real value of college, because that's what's prepping you for when you're out of there.
I love how you frame it too, right? Because it's easy to say, hey, you're going to be better for this. But with that framing right there, that's exactly what the experience is. Like, yo, you're going to be challenged. You're going to create these brand new thresholds that you didn't even know you were capable of. Like, I was able to tap into things that I didn't even know I could do, just because, to your point, it was like, whoa, this is ambiguous. What is
What
this?
is this?
And we often internalize that sort of like, that initial kind of like just being thrown off as tension or trauma or whatever. And it's not that, just uncomfortable a little bit. And you're so much better for that going forward, and just learning how to problem solve and meet new people and expand your vocabulary or your culture, your taste buds. Like, it's a lot of discovery and just, just connecting with people that are different from you and circumstances that are extremely different from yours too.
Yep. So now, how do you transition college athlete to now you're starting to do music with some level, I would imagine, of serious consideration? Or was it serious consideration, or were you just kind of like, oh, I play sports and I like to do music too?
It was that.
Okay.
I started DJing at the 21 and Over Club when I got there. And that was, so I had that conversation with my uncle. I auditioned for this DJing role. Shout out to DJ Opie for putting me on. He like, yo, pull up this night and we'll see. And it was like a week later that I had to wait. And it was like itching. I had all my songs
He
ready.
had
I
a
knew what I was
cue
gonna play.
moment from Juice, and he has on a bucket hat as we speak.
That's-
So
well,
look,
and-
it is now a
and-
full circle Juice moment.
And I got asked what's my favorite movie all the time, but I just said Juice, and I was like,
Did you?
I was so embarrassed to say it because I still don't know if it's like one of those film noirs, but hey, that's one of my
This is a
favorite movies
classic.
ever.
What you gonna do? Shoot me in the elevator?
What you gonna do?
Right. It's a question like, what you gonna do?
Oh my gosh. No, that's seriously. DJing felt like the perfect vehicle. Like it wasn't the front man. It'd be a way in as a curator. I didn't quite identify with the whole producer role thing yet. Like that was a world away from. I just thought hip hop was amazing, and I needed to be a part of it somehow, some way. And DJing and that whole art form has been the most prevalent thing in my life since I can remember. My dad's best friend, DJ GMS, was arguably one of the first artists signed to No Limit when they were starting in Richmond. So it's like he produced a lot of that early TRU stuff, and it's my dad's best friend. So whenever they would kick it, go to his house, his turntables is set up, and he had every record you can think of. And I would just spend hours just like, you know what I'm saying? So it made the most sense when I got there. And then there was an opening on the college radio station, so I would do college radio. I think my show was on Wednesdays. Pilo, Sue, whole HPK gang, I'd be able to, the chief was the engineer and had all the songs. He would just email me what they recorded the night before, and I'd play it on my show or play it in the club that week. And that was kind of how it started. And once Hoop was over, one of my teammates got my hard drive and put all the demos I was doing by myself on his iPod and start playing it. It's like, bro, you tight for real, you know. And they were kind of the nudging point in the shows. And then my mentor Morgan was like the real catalyst for like taking it serious for real, because it's like, oh man, I don't have the right this, I don't have the right that. And then I pop up at the crib and he'd have whatever that piece of equipment was that I was complaining that I didn't have. And so what's your excuse now? What's your excuse now? It's like, damn. Well, here we go. So I had a lot. I mean that too. It's like I was taken care of really well, and just kept getting pushed into. It's
a
like,
little
yo,
bit more.
It's okay. It's totally okay to love this as much as you do, because you seem the happiest when you are DJing or when you are creating or when you are around music. And in that, I got to keep discovering these dimensions of the art form. So sitting around waiting for beats, and my mentor is like, bro, you gonna wait for somebody? Why don't you just learn how to make them?
How to make them? Well, look, to that point, just to talk about your production work in a minute, and I'll talk in just a second about some of that work in the Grand Nationxl collective.
Right.
But, sometimes I'll hear things. I listen, people who've been in the car with me know I listen to a lot of off-brand shit in the car. But, and growing up in the 80s, knowing a lot of the original songs that then went on to become really popular samples in hip hop. But I will always wonder sometimes when I hear the original songs, how does somebody hear this and think, oh, I can take out this piece or I can loop this and make this into that, because they're so vastly different. And I'm like, what kind of mind does a producer have to hear this and know that you could turn this into that?
We, on the drive back, when I was texting you, we were listening to, it was Kev's phone was on shuffle, but Mary J's "My Life" came on, and it's the Roy Ayers flip. And if you listen to it, it's the part of the song that they took is when that string line is in there, the entire part, and you're like, bro, why did they take this part, and why is Mary bodying this? But it is. I imagine Puff and who was that? Is that Salam Remy? It might be Salam. I could have that wrong. I feel like it's Salam though. Whoever made that specifically, but I imagine Puff was like, yo, we got to flip this. And it's from being at your parents' parties or your grandmother and just hearing that over and over again and knowing what to do with it, So it's something as simple as being an audiophile and really being from it and going, no, that's it, because it's gonna generate this, it's gonna activate this part of nostalgia for a demographic that ain't necessarily checking for us right now. Like our elders don't have no use for a lot of this stuff that's out because it's not trying to be inclusive of them. But for me, I grew up with a single mother in the 90s, and it don't get no more R&B, neo soul. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna flip everything if it's Angie, if it's Jill, if it's it's just all these different. And for me as a creative, the first thing I do when I sit down is probably gonna be something that's R&B driven. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but I'm not gonna apologize for it. And it is that whole bad boy shiny suit era, because that's what they were doing. They were figuring out a way to take something that was so street and not as accessible and polish it and make it a vibe. And that's, to me, for my bang for my buck, that is the most brilliant time in hip hop, because Puff and them were responding to what Dre and them were doing, and it was so beautiful, because it was these soulful records just being, to your point, being flipped into these new discoverable pieces. It's like, yo, what is this? Why would you do this?
One of the best times in hip hop music. Tribe Called Quest was big.
Facts.
Into that. The whole native tongue set was really big into doing a lot of creative work.
All the producers in there, though. It was like world class, but using one another, like sharing records, and it's almost like a book club. Like, yo, what you reading right now? What you on? And then, this is what you did with it. I'm gonna find something else on that same record and flip it crazy. And we do need community in that way. And you see a lot of the more collective, sustainable careers in this have come from collectives like the Native Tongues, or come from the 1500 or nothings. And when you think more modern day, or the Odd Futures and stuff like that, and it's like, damn, it's all y'all was in one crew, So
well, you found your way into a collective.
I did.
Grand Nationxl.
I did.
Yes, I've mentioned them. Last season, my Artist Spotlight episode was Champ Green, who also is part of Grand Nationxl Collective. And I feel like I've mentioned it a few times. Let me first tell you what my first exposure was. So January 2020, it was the end of January.
Okay.
I had been following Kev Choice. Kev Choice is a hip hop jazz pianist here based in the Bay, and he was doing a show at Yoshi's. I was somewhat familiar with his music, but I heard he was a really dope live performer, so I went to the show. And it was like the 20th anniversary of the D'Angelo Voodoo album.
Right.
And he did the show at Yoshi's. I go to the show. It was amazing, right? So now I'm following him like hardbody on Instagram. COVID hits. It's March. Shelter in place hits. Kev starts doing piano shows every night from his living room. Like one night he did a whole Tribe set. He did a whole Stevie Wonder set. Like he was really keeping it going in those early days where we were at home like, what the hell is going on? what he went on to do in, I think it was like April, so people are home collecting their toilet paper and their, pork and beans.
Right.
He's making an album, social distancing.
Yeah.
He's making an album.
Dang.
And he's making videos in the streets that we're not supposed to be in. He's making videos, and he has a song on the album, Silver Linings.
Ooh.
And there are features on this record. And I'm like, who are these people? That was the first time I heard Kevin Allen. I didn't even know anything about Irk the Jerk, Kevin's alter ego. It was the first time I heard Kevin Allen, first time I heard Brookfield Deuce, first time I heard you.
I remember
And
that
I'm
day,
like,
like yesterday.
this is dope. Who are these people? And so now I'm looking at everybody on Instagram and following along with what they do, but catching it, looking back now, catching it as a really good time, because it was not but shortly thereafter.
You caught it from the jump.
I caught it from the jump.
I've always felt like that, but you telling that story confirms what I've always assumed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
As y'all were putting together Twice on Sunday.
Wow.
Yes. How did you come to be a part of Grand Nationxl?
Man, shout out my brother Kevin Allen, Irk the Jerk. We had already been working this. To backtrack, being from Richmond, you get used to hearing, such and such from Oakland, San Francisco, Vallejo. You hear everywhere but the rich. Berkeley, you hear everywhere but Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're asking me, is terms of like what we'll remember from this region and what kind of kicked in the door for things, like no matter how they tell a No Limit story, they have to mention Richmond in that story.
Mm-hmm.
For that, whenever they talk about Master P, they have to say Richmond. And so we talk about independence and what deal Cash Money went on to get and what Universal ended up, like all these doors that got to open and kind of started in where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think about Locke and Left and what the front line did as far as like Sway bringing them up to the radio and having them battle and go on MTV and kind of make national headway. HBK and what Sue went on to do nationally in that same conversation is Irk the Jerk. And I just thought he was the craziest MC, like growing up, like at high school, going into college, Nerd's Eye View, like that whole run of that whole mixtape era was just like, yeah, I was able to tap in with a whole bunch of artists, Recurrency and Wiz and all these people I thought were phenomenal, but where I was from, he was same trajectory as everybody else, the Nipseys, the TDEs, that whole run. I was able to, like, yo, Irk just dropped too.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being really proud of that. And then, so fast forward to moving back, you brought up Kev Choice. As I was doing my own recon to figure out how to immerse myself in the art community that was the Bay, the name that kept coming up was Kev Choice. So every show, no matter where he was playing at, and he eventually ended up opening for Robert Glasper at the New Parish for the Grammy show. But when you go see Kev Choice, Dame Drummer's there, Jennifer Johns is there, Ryan Nicole is there, Mara Root, like all of these, like, yo. But I've heard of all these people, so now I'm trying to get familiar. Fast forward, this very studio we're sitting in now, it was owned by somebody else. Somebody else was running it. He and I, DJ Flo, we ended up working on a project together. And he's like, yo, who you want to get on it? And I was like, man, I'm going to call Pilo, I'm going to call Sue, but I really want to try to get Irk. Hadn't met him formally at that time.
Really?
So,
okay. So this is not, we were in the sandbox together.
No, this ain't.
Here
this
we
ain't,
are now.
Not even a little bit. This is 2018. Cold contact DM. Hey, bro, from Richmond, working on this project, really want to get you. He's like, where you at? Just so I'm like downtown. Sent him the address. He was here 10 minutes later.
Wow.
Makes sense because he lived, he's in the area, but he came, played him some music. We kicked it, did the song, and then he left. And then DJ Flo goes, yo, man, how long y'all known each other? I was like, bro, I just met him, So that was 18. And from that day, we just stayed hella cool doing music. I was living in Hayward. He would come kick one in Hayward and do music, and we'd meet at other studios, but he became my guy for real. And so the Dreamville project comes out, and it's like 1:30 in the morning, and my phone rings, and he's like, hey, you watch that shit? I was like, yep. He's like, you know we could do that, right? I'm like, yep. He's like, all right, bet. Call you in the morning. Just hung up the phone. And then next thing I know, we were all recording at Slapwagon already. We were already in there. And SK had expressed to us like this want to like up level the type of music he was recording. And Kev was like, yo, bro, like take a shot on us and we're going to create Grammy award winning music out of this space. Like just take a chance on us. And SK, I to this day, and it'd be a good conversation to have with S2. It's like, yo, what made it believable? You know, what made you take a chance? Because SK was like, yo, every Thursday is y'all night. Just run it up. And every Thursday, it started off just like, just come pull up and come play music. And but I felt like we were working on Kev's album, and you know, there's conflicting stories of what the real initiative was, but per my memory and going there was going to be to work on what the next Kevin Allen record was for me. And just having all these people pull up was part of that mission to really turn shit up for real. And next thing you know, hey, can you call Deuce? Absolutely. Deuce is my guy. Like I love Deuce the second I met him. He just was, his energy, his bars was like, yo, you're crazy. He became my friend. So I called Deuce. He pulled up. Basta was already recording the seeds in the first room. So I had a seed, Kev had a seed, connecting them with Deuce for Deuce to do his. Mo Green, like everybody started doing their seeds, and so it just made sense. DB, Kate.
Kate is crazy.
Man, and that Kate Lamont, like that's really one of them ones as far as like creators go, like just in the world of her own and got a story that's just out of this world.
Amazing.
And really influential.
Kate's coming to the pod, y'all.
Yeah, and really influential for me as a creator too.
Yeah.
But that's the beginning for Grand Nationxl, and those Twice on Sunday sessions just were originally 6 to 6, were just these meetups of just like trying to create this safe space, first and foremost, of just sharing music. Yeah. Like, had no concept of working on anything. It was like, yo, just come plug into the aux, what you working on. And you sitting around, and every person that goes up that shares what they working on, you're like, yo, this shit is crazy. Everybody that plugged, it was like, you wouldn't believe it. And so you just like, your wheels get to turn, and you like, damn, like, well, music ain't the problem. You know? Like, music is so far from our pain point, being our pain point. It's just exposure. All right, what kind of leads exposure? Shout out to 510. Kev had been studying under Nana with Danielle and Dre and Sham and all them over there, just studying branding and getting into the marketplace. And he started telling us about that and was like, yo, pull up. And I took, I was searching for community anyway, so I took it to heart and fell in love immediately with just this idea of black people educating themselves and sharing information and it wasn't money driven. Like, obviously it's an entrepreneur's course, but it isn't, the money not gonna change anything. Right. Like, if you're not well, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not resting, if you're not exercising, if you're not eating the right fuel, like, then you're not gonna be worth a damn anyway. Right. So then you start connecting those dots and you're like, oh damn, so this is a branding issue. You know, and a being issue, a way of being. You know, yeah. And so that became our focus, is just these safe spaces that promote wellness, and then what will the music be in those spaces? Because everybody already had dope music, and so as it became centered around that, the music took a shift like no other. Like, I think everybody would attest to that. It's like just feeling like you're getting better. You don't have to assume that you're getting better. You know you're getting better because you feel better. Well, you can feel something kind of changing in the atmosphere. You can feel the shift happening. And as Grand Nationxl was developing and picking up steam, and you all were starting to pop up in places around town. I remember once y'all did a show at Lake Merritt. Right. And I was there. I had been at the farmer's market, I think, earlier that day. It was on a Saturday afternoon. And I'm there, and I'm watching y'all set up. And I'm looking at you, and I'm like, he's in the sound booth. He's doing the equipment. He's setting up the sound system. This man is crazy. He's on the stage. I'm like, he's the head lead. He's like, he got all the jobs.
I'm like, he's doing a lot of work. And I think that's where I started to get visibility to the work ethic. And then again, once you all put out the Live from Airship Laboratory album and you had the visual of it at the lot. I still didn't know any of you personally.
Right.
So I'm just there by myself in the crowd.
That's
I don't really know nobody there. So I'm just sitting in the mix watching.
Right.
But you could feel the buzz starting around something.
Wow.
And all this is happening. We're still smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. Y'all really took advantage of the captive audience because y'all gonna listen to this music.
Right.
And we were glad we did that live album. I still to this day. Last session I did, Brian Simmons, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Brian Simmons. B. Simmons engineered the session. Monty wasn't here. And I knew his name from around, and I knew he was a musician. But when we talked in here, and he was a big part of the live musicianship from that live album.
Not just the live album, all of the albums. Like if B. Simmons don't that's the he the one. Like,
I owe him a cash app because the musicians go hard.
He's the one in that whole community. Like I'm sorry, B is, man. You don't. It's not every day you get to stand next to people that could do what he does. You
Amazing.
Know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's special.
Dope.
Yeah.
Dope musician. But yeah, I was saying, you could kind of feel the traction starting to develop, particularly around the point that y'all were creating music with a purpose. Like you could turn on the radio and kind of get any and every.
Right.
But it felt very different. It felt very intentional, and it felt like y'all had something to say that maybe we hadn't been hearing for a while. One of the hallmarks of a Monty-verse. Look, a hallmark of a Monty-verse is some hard shit, and then you throw something real personal and vulnerable in there in the mix. And so you're having your hard moment, and then you're like, wait a minute. What did you say? But you all kind of do that.
Right.
I remember when Kevin Allen's Nothing Lasts Forever album came out. I had somewhere to go. I was going to Oakley.
Right.
So I'm like, okay.
You got to drive, man.
I said, I got to drive. So look, I have uninterrupted time to listen to start to finish. And I'm thinking I'm going to drive and have my head nodded, zone out moment, which I did in part. But as the album went on and he's starting to get into concepts of thought and feeling and emotion and inadequacy and all these things, right? Confidence and, is it enough? And I'm like, damn, they just getting into it in almost, in almost every song that they make. You feel this sense of personalism. You feel this sense of vulnerability in the midst of what else you're talking about. I know for you particularly, spirituality is a common thread in a lot of your music. So what do you think is behind this? I don't want to call it a wave, but for lack of a better term, I'll call it a wave. What do you think is behind this wave of what I call heart-centered music that's happening? So I'm thinking about you, thinking about Kev, thinking about Rex Life Raj.
My dog.
I'm not familiar with him,
Blue
but that album came out, and
The
I just
Blue-
listened to it recently, and I'm like, wow.
Magic.
What happened, or what do you think changed that has made Black men feel that they have permission to have their vulnerability in public?
Whew. That is an awesome question. I don't know what happened. But I'll say for me, right? And I've said it on the pod multiple times too, that I appreciate Hov's 444 so much, but Money Cash Hoes came out, and I absolutely love that song, and
For good reason.
right? You know what I'm saying? Like, but what happens if it's in reverse? Is he able to even get that off? So it's this maturity that the genre is doing, and now the potential partners, the investors, the people who are putting up the money. Yeah, we know what gangster rap did for y'all pockets, but what it did for the community in reverse probably wasn't the best. That's not taking anything away from the art form. These are two separate conversations. The content and the art form are two separate things. Because when you get to the music of the Chronic, whoo,
Amazing.
amazing. but you start thinking about the caricatures and the things that they're writing and how they're inflating the stories and stuff. It's like, maybe they take a different route if they felt they'd be able to monetize and capitalize and represent the community well. And I feel like their sacrifice on that end of it is what's allowing us to do it here. Because, look at how Three Stacks is revered a little bit for being a little bit more vulnerable on those records at times, and it's like, damn, studying that, or when you really want to get into what Pac's most memorable songs are, what Biggie's most memorable songs are, that Juicy, I think Juicy probably edges out everything when you get down to it.
Yeah.
And so as the genre matures and we've realized how closely connected like the Black experience is to hip hop music, and specifically, like, all right, we got to figure some things out. There's dads now, fathers of little girls who are gonna grow up that. When we were working on Nothing Lasts Forever, Kev's mission statement to us, the very first statement was like, yo, I need something my daughters could be proud of. Very specific, and so it was like, well, damn. That's going to change a lot of how we approach these sessions and these songs and the intent. But it was a great method. And as far as leadership goes, to like set the tone of being that intentional. And I know meeting the Karigas, meeting the Deuces, you mentioned Raj, like getting close to those three gentlemen specifically and how ill their pens are. Like, you get to the bravado of it, like, I'm just a better rapper than you. I can promise you, don't nobody want it with them three, for sure. But now we're talking about another dimension past your braggadocious talk. Can you express your feelings with clarity? And some of that comes with ownership. I love Raj's series because discovery, sort of playfulness, and now he's in a whole nother gear where he understands this on a whole different level. That is the most awesome representation of, for me, what I want, how I see myself. Like, for so long, it's like, damn, I'm not Hove, I'm not this person. But then 444 comes out and I'm like, damn, I can relate to that. And then Kendrick drops Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. You're like, wait a minute, dog. Like, this is crazy.
Yep.
And then Blue Hour, Nothing Lasts Forever, Deuce with Coordinates, Pass with Flowers. You're talking about these beautiful, masculine Black men that are, to your point, being extremely vulnerable. And there's this dope book, Leadership Through Vulnerability, for me, that kind of kicked that door open. Was like, nah, it's not demeaning. You're not demonizing anything of it. You're actually taking control of it and stepping up to the plate and putting it out there. And so that we don't have this kind of double down of ignorance and people being afraid to say, I don't know, or I'm trying to figure it out, or maybe I wasn't my best, but I still had to face it. It's like, nah, what if art is actually imitating real life, like for real, as opposed to these built up, inflated images of us that is creating this disconnect, because our personal art form is supposed to represent what's happening. It's not supposed to be disconnected where you think it's chains, a bad chick, and a whip, and a big house and all that. It's like, brother, how many people living like that for real? And how many people could you actually put on payroll and take care of
with you
if that was the means? You know what I'm saying? And so it's just a different conversation, and it's a brand new day. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it. And you're right, it is a wave. I am grateful to be a part of this wave. Shout out to Toby. Shout out to JID and Dreamville and Earth Gang, what they're doing. Like, it's Rhapsody and the Jamla crew. Like, it's a lot of exceptional artists that are taking that as a challenge and making sure we look and we're represented like we've never been before, and I'm so proud of us in the midst of it all.
And taking a lot of us with you too. I think I told you, like behind the scenes, a lot of this has been helpful with my whole Men Are People Too journey. Like, you
did say that. You said that, yeah.
I said that.
You did say that.
It was maybe like 5 years ago that I was like, oh shit, men are people.
You did say that. Damn,
like,
men are
with
people. That's a
all
bar.
the emotions and shortcomings and insecurities and because we, how women get socialized, right? We bathe in that, but I was like, oh, you can't. You can't just objectify them. Not like, not like. Okay, wait. Not like just physically objectify
Right.
them, even though sometimes you do. But like, no, they're not just serving a protection purpose, a
Right.
companionship purpose,
Right.
a physicality purpose,
Right.
a financial purpose.
Right.
I need some attention today, that purpose. Like, they are whole, separate, complete beings with all the shit
Right.
that comes with that. But they just don't get, many times, they don't get the room. So, really giving men space, and me just personally recognizing that everything we have going on, y'all have going on. One could argue more because you don't really get a place to discharge it all the time like we do.
I really appreciate that. Like, if nothing else comes from our run and our music, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but for me, I really don't appreciate the narrative or the concept that or what's being perpetuated, this kind of wedge between black women and black men, because that's not my experience. The black women in my life especially have always shown up for me. I've never gone without, and it's been primarily, it's probably been because a black woman has pulled up and made shit shake for real.
Yeah.
From my grandmother all the way down to.
Is he reading my questions? This was my next question. Is he reading my questions? Like, do I have a mirror behind me where he's like, because he was on my phone? Go ahead.
No. That's it. I just wanted to say I appreciate that from our collective art, that unlocks something for you, that in particular, because really and truly, part of the initiative too was to make the studio and creative spaces safer again. Ryan Nicole is one of my favorite creatives, period. Like, if you can talk about her as an actress, you can talk about her as a writer, as a performer. The cold contact, hey, I'm a fan, please pull up, wasn't as seamless, because it's like, fam, I'm coming to a rap studio at 9 at night, fam. I got a family and a husband. Like, that ain't oh damn, I need to pull up and introduce myself to your significant other and be around the kids. So hey, no, this is family, this is safe. Like, because it's been told differently. Yeah. It's been showcased differently. So being completely ignorant to that variable and going, oh damn, we got to do a lot more work past just, hey, pull up, come record right quick. No, who gonna be there? What's going on? Is it safe? You know what I'm saying? Can I bring the kids? Are y'all gonna be smoking weed? And like all this needs to be figured out, you know. And so, I am grateful that I have built a relation. I could hit Ryan and ask for that. Anissa, Jennifer Johns, Jane Hancock. I just got back from LA with Jane Hancock. Like that, we aren't anything, especially like as a people, but as far as representation goes and storytelling goes and expression goes, like our female voices they just reverberate so much further for me. And I, you know, it's probably because of how I was raised and what we grew up listening to, but there's part of me that wants to serve that very specifically.
Yeah.
So
you talk a lot about the strong women influencers in your life. So your mom, I've heard you mention your grandmother, your sisters.
Right.
You look to be very much in love as well.
Yes, I am.
You
Shout
are?
out T. I am. That's crazy. I was talking to Kim about that in the car. I am, bro. It feels good to own it too. You know what I'm saying? I think, you know, I'd be the first one to say there are probably some women out there that hate me to this day. I gotta own that.
People on a therapist's couch as a result.
I gotta own that. But what I will say is that those lessons, because there is a lot that I regret and that I wish I could take back and have said properly or just communicated in general. But now all of those L's prepare me for this blessing. I'm not gonna fumble this bag. Like whatever work gotta be done, I'm gonna figure it out. But I think the flyest part about it all is to wear it as a badge of honor when that wasn't always the representation around me
Right.
from the other men. It was like, yo, I got a shorty, but I got a shorty over here. Like, it can't really, and it's, and that's in, keep it a stack. Like, that's not even knocking that movement, because some people are able to move like that and communicate as such with their partner. So that ain't none of my business. I know, but for me, just in terms of having a true partner that sees you like fully, and you're not filtering any part, you're not omitting anything. It's like she gonna lose her mind, but it has impacted. You talked about the insecurities. It is helped me address and confront a lot of those, because I am seen for real, you know. So
for who you are.
yeah.
How does it feel? Usually people don't get two going at the same time. So how does it feel to have success in your creative life and success in your personal life at the same time?
Damn, that's awesome.
Because usually
and one has to
one
suffer.
is up and one is down.
Well, so I think that's the point, is like, I learned through those past relationships, I learned how to communicate in real time, because I'm inclined to shut down and just go in my mode. But because we have been friends for so long, she knows that. She can sense it, and she'll ask the right questions. And so they go hand in hand this time around for me. Like, the music for C3, for Communion 3 right now is like this part of the chapter.
3?
Oh yeah, the 3 is happening. You got it here first.
All right. Bam, exclusive.
The last song on 2, visually, Pressure. If you structure the verses, it's like, this is just fun to talk about. The treatment, if the visual treatment, if it happens the way it happens, barring no budget, is the scene from The Wood, where they can't find Ro, and
okay.
he's having a panic attack, but because he don't know how to express it, he go to his old chick house because it's the safest place. And the funny part is, he ain't really trying to do nothing, but it would be crossing the line. His partners come and save the day, but they do it with this kind of tough love. So the first verse is me kind of going, damn, I am happy, but this is many, and I hurt a whole bunch of people to get here. This is wild. And then Kev is like the oracle, so he gonna come and put hella perspective on it. And then J.N. come through in the end, just hyphy, bruh. Like, we gonna be in love no matter what. So it's turned, you know. So it's they're both fueling one another, and I truly mean that, Kaj, when I say that. Like, I feel hella blessed in that regard. Because to your point, it's not
always that way.
It's not always like that, you know. So I'm mindful of that blessing and the responsibilities that come with it.
Yeah.
And making sure to do the right thing, not in a sterile kind of way, but just, you know, slowing down, tapping in. She you know, the days that I was on the road for 2 consecutive weeks this past 2 weeks.
Right, like how you balancing the harmony between what you do and your life,
but not taking advantage of it, because it's like sometimes, like, literally, hey, Monty, can you be in such and such today? But we had date night planned, and we haven't had one in 3 weeks. I gotta go to New York. All right, cool. I understand. This is what the job is.
Yeah.
But have your ass back and turn that phone off one of these days, because I need my day. And it's not, you know, it's not asking a lot. You know, it's not uber demanding, but it also is like, hey man, don't abuse it too, because having a real one can make you can get complacent. And part of my biggest challenge internally is what we talk about in therapy, is like this complacency is this weird ass boogeyman for me. And I kind of can do this thing where I'll make it a thing in certain spaces. It's not a thing. Like, ain't nobody checking for it there, but you trying to make it appear there.
So you don't have to deal with it over here.
Hey man, focus on what
come on with that emotional 3-car money.
Focus on what you got to do. Stop trying to make something up so you can
cards
make.
around.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I'm glad you You get it, because that's exactly what it is.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Good for you. Good for you. What are some of the other passions you have outside
Don't do that.
of music?
Don't do that.
I know it. I know it, but some of them don't know it. But, what are you creating when you're not creating music? When are we getting the podcast back? I'm all in the ancillary creations of Monty Draper.
The podcast is my absolute baby. I love.
Shout out to Meet the Brave.
Shout
out to Brit Nation.
Shout out Brit. Her podcast is coming back.
Yes, Brit. I'm so excited.
LG, I love you, cuz my hero from day one since I can remember. And then Lex B.U.B., one of my best friends in the entire world, is easily one of the best creatives I've ever met.
Directing extraordinaire.
But I don't know. I don't know. Like this break away, to your point, things are happening, and it's also weird. Thank you for just again seeing us and saluting the effort. I gotta be honest with you, Kai. This is new. Like Kev used to people. Hey man, I'm not used to none of this. So
you're like, well, put my head down.
I'm like, who the hell y'all talking to?
Right.
I appreciate it. And while I was heartbroken that we had to take a break from the pod, it did open up for I can be gone on the weekend now. Like I can do these things. So
yeah.
But I get a DM. The Meet the Brave podcast gets a DM every day. The comments are like, "Yo, where the hell are y'all at?" So we got to figure something out.
You got to figure something out.
And I talked to a few people that are willing to make sure we do figure that out.
Okay.
So it will indeed get ironed out. I'm sorry. We're sorry to have left y'all so abruptly, but no better place than to address it than on someone who I felt like I made a connection with through the community of the podcast, which was the point. Like that conversation we're having about men and women, black men and women specifically, was like, hey, like how do we have an open forum discussion so that our thought process can be humanized in a way where it's not like, oh, these niggas are crazy or whatever, or they're sexist or whatever. It's like, nah, we're men, so we got to get a certain tone off no matter how it goes.
Yes.
And it's never with disrespect. And so I think one of the most beautiful things about the podcast is like because you can get inside your numbers and see who's who. Our demo.
It's a lot of women.
What? 80-20.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be happier, and because not to say that that was who it was for, but to know that they aren't turned off by the vulgarity or the toxic energy at times. It's like, because it isn't good fun, but it also is a lot of truth.
Yes.
But I do feel like it's conversations that are better suited to have with either your partner or someone of the community that you would prefer it to land with, to be challenged. Not to say it and not have nobody challenge it back, but if, hey, Monty, you might have got that wrong, my boy. Like, I would prefer it to be you than some other stepping to me. Like, you don't even know it. You don't even have any context for it. So it was never to say it and not have it ever be challenged and not have the thought or the idea or the concept be challenged. It was, those things are said out of good fun, and hopefully land with grace and hopefully are challenged. So I see you out at Shiru and you like, hey, bro, I didn't like that last week, and then I can come back and be like, yo, man, I ran into Kaj and she told me, and then it'd be a whole thing, and then I call you on the show, you know what I'm saying? Or you come be a guest or whatever it is. And so that started to happen. It really did, and I am grateful for that run, and I'm gonna figure it out. I plan on consulting with you and a few other people that I trust. I do plan on, Lex and I do plan on figuring it out in some capacity. Just want it to be right and not be not feel like an afterthought, because when music wasn't booming, the pod was saving my life. You know what I'm saying? So
we miss it. We do.
That makes me
Yes.
sad and happy at the same time.
We do. I'm gonna keep the number 2 spot open for y'all. Y'all know y'all was my second favorite podcast, so your number 2 spot is not full.
It's waiting for us.
It's
Okay.
waiting for you.
Okay.
I loved when y'all did the live recording. I think it was the 150th episode. Was
150.
it?
You came through.
I came, drove up to Richmond. I had never been to Richmond
Wow.
before, and y'all know I will pull up in a neighborhood in a minute. I just recently pulled up into Vallejo for the first time.
Oh, you went
see
to
the Russell. Yeah, so I will pull up in a neighborhood
See,
for some entertainment.
that's who it's for, though. Like the invite was you could only hear the invite in the show.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't no flyer, wasn't no poster, and it was like, hey, if you listening to the show, if you made it this far into the show, the event is this weekend. These are the instructions on how to do it. It was
follow the
It was
instructions.
packed.
It was packed.
With the right people, and I think that's the goal. It's like to continue to cater and to speak and to grow with the people that are invested in that way to do, the list, like it's a timestamp thing like that. It wasn't even no bread. It was like, yo, like you just had to make it 15 minutes into the show to hear the instructions. I had family members see the pictures. Oh man, you out of pocket not inviting me. It's like, no, you've been lying about listening to the show, because if you really listened, you would have gotten an invite.
Yeah.
So it was.
You being there. Well, I have to say thank you to y'all. Meet the Brave podcast was a big inspiration to me in starting my podcast.
That means the world.
I listened and really appreciated the banter of the conversation and what it was intended to bring about. So also appreciate you and Lex and your support to me in getting started on the first season of the As Told By podcast. Y'all were both in the room for the episode one, season 1. So I appreciate y'all so much for all of the support.
Right. No, we wouldn't. I think, and I know I can speak. I talked. Lex has called twice since we've been on the show. I gotta call him back, but I
What
think
up,
I can
Lex?
speak for him in that regard too. Where it's like part of a proof of concept for us was to be able to start or be the catalyst for other shows that represent the same tone for us. Like I want to listen to you and hear about culture through your lens, because you really, to your point, you really gonna go to Vallejo. You really gonna pull up to this food experience curated by these Black people, no matter what their identity is, no matter what this is, and it's real culture. Some Anthony Bourdain shit, for real. Like I appreciate.
I'm trying
you.
to beat Anthony
And
Bourdain. That's the goal.
Because you're doing it. I think your voice is so important because you're a transplant, for lack of better terms, immersed into this place. But you're from the place that is often noted as the start of culture, and so you can carry that around wherever you go. But if I hadn't heard your accent, I wouldn't have guessed you were from New York, because you don't carry yourself with that. I'm from New York. Everything better from where we from.
Right.
You like, nah, I'm
Keep
really
your
coming.
ass over there then, right?
You really come to tap into experience and to share and to put people on. And I think that's what's not only going to preserve Black culture, but scale it. And we need more people designing with sustainability and scalability in mind. Not just what you can take in this short amount of time of being white hot, because it's just gonna take. Nah, you got to come and leave something too. And As Told By has done that. Is just being the engineer of the show. You've put me on the people and things that exist where I'm from that I had never. Every episode thus far, like, oh damn, I did not know that. I didn't know this person was doing that. I need to go tap in, and now I see those people out and about, and it's like, oh man, it's community.
Yeah.
Like, this is really how you build it. So I'm grateful for you and
Thank you.
how intentional you are. Let me tell y'all, doing the intro music, Kaj was the dopest A&R. Like, nah, fam, I need my drums like this. I need this. It's like, oh, Puff, you got it. I know Puff when I hear Puff.
Monty produced the intro for season 2 of the As Told By podcast. It was on some real MacGyver shit. We were here for about 2 hours. He just started pulling shit out of a backpack, and like 2 hours later, there was an intro, and I'm like, is it that easy? Okay then.
When the direction is clear, and to bring it full circle, my role in Grand Nationxl is to listen. So Jane will have an idea from last year, but life happens and it just takes time. A says, remember you said you want to do this? Bet. Kev, remember you said you wanted to do this? All right, cool. It's just like, yo, let's just make these things happen.
Yep.
And I'm grateful, but you can't do none of that without the person with the vision being able to articulate it. So y'all can argue more valuable and important all y'all want to. I don't care. I just wanted to get done. I just needed to get done, and I needed to be the best representation of you so that you feel proud of it.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about the rest later, but the other shit really don't matter. So I was absolutely grateful to do that with you, not for you, but with you, because that, as much as that was me, that was you, and you were able to communicate that too. So that was dope.
Thank you. Well, this has been dope. I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with me today. I hope people learned something maybe new that they did not know about Monty. I like to wrap up my artist spotlight episodes with like a 5-round fast question.
Let's do it.
Lightning round. You don't have to think too hard.
Okay.
Just throw it out there. What's a movie that always makes you cry? Oh, God.
Jason's lyric. Jason's lyric. Why they do lyric like that, bro?
Why? But this is
funny.
the beginning of my annoyance with all film roles of Bokeem Woodbine.
Hella funny.
They make her play the same role every time. Whose career journey has inspired your creative journey the most?
I feel like Jay is easy to say. Lately, I've been feeling more Pharrell-ish. In that fandom comes first for everything for him. So I'll say Pharrell.
Okay. If y'all want to know the reason why I pull up on him when you see him in the street. Would you rather have a rewind or a pause button on your life?
Pause. Just because out of not a lot of regret, but there are moments where you just could have listened better, and had a better choice of a response for your own doing, and not trying to divert and gaslight and take away from the hurt that you've caused and shit like that. So I'd rather have a pause to make sure, hey man, it's one of the moments where
to do that.
you know,
right.
like be mindful
Yes.
of what you say next, because you made this mess. Like, don't make the mess and then double down. You know what I'm saying? So I like the rewind is cool, but a lot of the hurt or the missteps have kind of set the stage for today. So just a pause to be a little bit more mindful and not as reactionary or quicker quicker reaction time sometimes too. So the pause button for sure.
All right. What's something you worked to unlearn in the last year?
A lot of things, but I'll start with I'm working to unlearn that part of you that diverts from what needs attention the most, right? So, you know, having this weird value in being busy and all this stuff, it's like, nah, fam, you not really busy. You just trying to distract yourself. So I'm working to unlearn associating value with tasks that don't really move the needle for real.
That's big.
So trying to slow down, say no a lot more, which has been amazing, surprisingly. Like,
No is a whole sentence.
I feel, and working on unlearning that part of me that feels bad of not being able to discuss money up front too. It's like, nah, my value is this, but surprisingly, all that stuff is connected.
Yep.
So, yeah.
This question I'll borrow from good old Oprah. If it's good enough for Oprah, it's going to be good enough for us. I love the question when she would ask it of people on Super Soul Sunday, so I'll ask you here. What do you know for sure?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Take that back. Service, leading with service and showing up as a servant can unlock so many doors, but you got to really tap into it. You can't do that thing where it's like, oh, I'm expecting something on the back end. No, it literally don't work like that. Like, you got to just show up with hey, what you need? and ask you, don't, what do you need?
Mm-hmm.
And watch how poured into you are from just showing up for your entire community like that. And that's kind of been, what's guided me through this whole process. Is just like, nah, I'm clear on that I want to serve my half brother. Black people, we don't do the half brother shit. So it's weird to even say, but for the sake of the context of the story, it's important. My half brother is 3 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't spent very much time together, especially as adult men.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a conversation, and I'm just listening to what he wants to do and his goals and his passion, and he's just talking about service. It's like, oh, we're brothers, So I was grateful.
Those
Shout
go
out
together.
Josh, man.
Well, this has been great.
It's been beautiful.
I'll ask you in a minute, what is next, what's upcoming from you. But I mean, from Concrete Violet, East Shore Highway, Grand Nationxl, the solo work, the voiceover work, in Amsterdam with the coat budget going crazy, right? All the things, Mani is definitely falling into, for me, the category of your favorite artist,
Wow.
as it relates to the Bay Area. So I'm so thankful that he has come to talk. If you don't know him or you've not, met him in person, I hope you don't mind me saying this, one of the distinctive things about you is that you have the keloids on your face.
Yes.
I think it's so, what is the word I want to use? Like, it is no accident that they are at the cortex of your brain and your mouth. What does that mean? Go ponder that.
Gosh.
Of all the things, of all the places, why there? It
Wow.
must be because there is something happening at the cortex of your brain and your mouth.
Wow.
So good on you. What can people expect to hear from you next?
C3. Kevin Allen has another project that is coming soon. Jane Hancock. We got a lot of music. Jane is a machine. It's Future and it's Jane in terms of who just record a lot of songs. And Jane and I've been fortunate enough to have contributed to a significant portion of that music.
She's dope.
Yeah, it's a lot of music. Just a lot of music. I Am Sue has been working with him for a really long time. Steven Anderson, people know him as Stephen King. Got a lot of music with him. Like, just, yeah, but the Communion series is the focus, and just buttoning up the visual experiences for 1 through 3. Few people have already kind of figured out that you can put 1 and 2 together manually and experience it like that. 3 will have a life as an additional chapter, will be the conclusion of it. So I'm just excited about committing to communicating that concept thoroughly. Is really what the focus is. So.
Well, we're ready. We're ready. Where can people find you on social media?
At Monty Draper on all platforms. And if you really want to tap in with the crew, at Grand Nationxl. Grand Nationxl is how it's spelled, but it's Grand Nationxl for everybody that needs a little bit more clarity on what the gang is doing. Please tap in, because it's all in service, and not just beyond music, but entrepreneurs. If you're starting a business, like, our aim is to get products that represent us well to market, and I'm so grateful for the framing and the language to be able to say that and have clarity on what our goal is, to how we want to serve our greater community of Oakland specifically, but beyond that in the Bay, and being able to work with Dame Lillard and all these bigger names now, is like, yo, we're going to take this on for real, but and hope we make you proud in the process.
You are. Y'all are making us proud. If you want to follow me and get to know me a little bit better, you can find me on IG at Kaja versus Kaja. That's KAHJA_VS_KAHJA. This is episode 5 of the As Told by podcast. Peace.